G'day guys, heard you were looking for DIY projects.
Super simple setup.
Clip here, 2 screws over there.
Air tank under the tray.
So simple. Why haven't I thought of that before?
Half of us Aussies might be in lockdown right now, but that just means more time in the shed to tackle a DIY project on the Forby.
Made it out of some box section.
Solar panel hidden in between the cab.
This is the epitome of quirky setups.
After years of doing this, I've never thought of that myself. That's a cool idea.
Shano, how are you, mate, from across the other side of Australia? You doing well?
Doing really good, mate. Doing really good. Just stuck down in the shed, mate, doing a little bit of work on old soot here.
Mate, I was going to say, when you own Toyotas, you'd be spending a lot of time in the old shed. I'm just down here making sure I've still got oil in the TD, mate. And
I was going to say, mate, looks like you got a heck of a lot of tools out, and do you even know what they all do, mate?
Some of them, I've got a rough idea, mate. The one with the hammer is one I use quite a bit of, mate. But I thought, what better time for us to get together during what has been another little wave of this pandemic that's sort of sweeping across Australia at the moment. And, there's like 12 million, can you believe, like 12 million Australians are currently in some form of lockdown right now? It's crazy
Half
to
the
think.
population. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, mate. I know a couple of my mates over east are sort of not doing it tough, I won't say that, but they're sort of, again? We're doing this again?
Yeah, I know. It's just the frustration. Stuck in a house or a unit. I mean, the only saving grace, if there was such a thing, mate, is if you've got a bit of driveway space or a garage or even better, a shed where you can do a couple of little odd jobs on your four-wheel drive, mate. Now's the time, I suppose, while you can't go anywhere, it's probably the best time to go and do those mods you've been thinking about doing for a while on your Forby.
That's what's happened with us, of course. I'm supposed to be over there with yourself right now doing a bit of shooting, but I can't get across to the East Coast at the moment. WA's decided to put up the wall. They've built a wall. And so I've been spending quite a bit of time down the shed here, mate. In fact, if you could see that side of the camera, which I'm not going to show you, it's an absolute pigsty in here, mate. I've got archery gear everywhere. I've got tools everywhere. And a few little sneaky bits and pieces going on with the trucks here, mate. So I've been sort of making the most of, my time back here in WA.
I reckon that's the whole theme of today's show, is to give you guys a little bit of inspiration to do a couple of those DIY mods yourself. Now, we're going to show you today that you don't need $1 million or a heap of skills. In fact, some of these mods require neither of those. No money and not much skill. So,
and that's where I come in, mate.
Exactly right, mate. There's a couple that even you could do, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And we actually went to our social media and looked for some inspiration, because like always, we like hearing from you guys, and you guys have come up with some absolute cracking ideas. There's a couple, mate, we're going to go through today. I've already earmarked to do myself. There's some really cool little ideas.
I agree. Look, just before we get stuck into this, mate, I just want to remind everyone that this kind of content we're putting out here, you don't want to miss it, because like Sean just said, there's little bits and pieces in here that I guarantee you're going to want to do to your four-wheel drive. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff to all our social media channels, especially this one here, so you can catch up on all the juicy bits, mate.
Exactly right, mate. And if you need just a little bit more motivation to click that subscribe button, right now we have the biggest ever competition underway. I mean, we've got a prize pool of over $35,000 worth of prizes. It's our way of giving back to you guys. So by simply subscribing to our channel and following the link down in the description below, you can enter. And I think, mate, today's prize, we've got 3 prizes from Red Arc, which total well over $2,000, mate. There's a tow pro elite, a BC DC, and also a solar panel.
It's just under $3,000 to be fair. It's
I know.
It's
a lot of prizes. This is just today. Imagine like signing up for our page and subscribing to all our social media channels. You're always in the running for some really cool prize, and that's how you get notified of this sort of stuff. I mean, keep in touch.
Good chances too, mate. Good chances too. Now look, we've had submissions for this from all over the world. Would you believe? Of course, Australia is represented very heavily, but we've had people send in DIY projects from all over the world. And I just wanted to show this one here, because this actually reminds me. This is from Michael in Uganda. G'day to everyone in Uganda. Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
Actually reminds me of my very first shorty. It was a TB42. You could watch the fuel gauge going down as I went up hills. And I sort of did everything myself in the back like he's done. He's got drop-down tables. He's got some wooden drawers in there. I love his gravity-fed water system.
I know.
That's the way to rock and roll.
The simple ones, like, it's one of those things, if you don't have water in your camping artillery, I reckon one of the best mods you can do is just go real simple. Get yourself a jerry can with some water and get a hose so it's convenient to use. I mean, that'll be one of the best mods you'll ever do.
Oh, mate, it's just so good to be able to wash your hands or brush your teeth or, whatever it is you need water for when you got a tap.
I want to show you this one here, mate, from Dan. Now, Dan has got a cracking little mod. Now, I've seen this before. I've actually done this to Daryl, but what I like about Here's a little bottle crusher. Look at this, the can crusher on the back of his canopy here. Number one, it's easy to get to. You don't want to make these sort of things hard.
No.
Number two, if you look really closely, there's a bottle opener underneath. That's getting two uses out of the same product, mate. That's very clever.
That's thinking smart. Now, we've got, this will be close to your heart, mate. We've got Dane here. He's got this trick. Have a look at what he's done here with regards to holding his fishing rods up.
I like this. I like this a lot.
And you can always tell a bloke that enjoys wetting the line because the gear will always be readily available, rigged up, ready to go. And you and I need to take a lesson from this, mate, because we usually just put fishing rods in the middle of the vehicle.
Front seats, run them in your laps. You're trying to drive through the Umbugari track. It's getting trebles in your thigh.
Barrel lures flashing around.
That's right. That's exactly right. But that's a really cool. I've always been looking for cool DIY fishing rod storage solutions, if that makes sense. And that's the thing. If you can get your outfit all rigged up, ready to go, you might just have a quick second to have a cast, and that could mean the difference between not catching a barra, hey Graham, and
exactly
fish of a lifetime. That's it.
Exactly.
This one here's from James, another fishing rod holder. Now, what I like about this one is he's actually just gone into Bunnings. I mean, I think he spent a total of about $7 on a broom holder, and he's worked out that holds his fishing rod in quite well. And he even says, of course, across the corrugations, you know, no dramas whatsoever. Have a look at this one, mate.
Just some broom holders from Bunnings. Doesn't come loose at all, not even on the rough tracks.
Now, Sean, talking about things that you've seen in these DIY projects that you're thinking you might implement yourself, have a look at this one here from Robert. So simple. On the back of a canopy door. Why haven't I thought of that before? You hang your towel up, you can put your hat in there. All manner of things. So I'm doing it. Thank you, Robert.
You know what? After years of doing this, I've never thought of that myself. Every time I get, wet grundies or board shorts or something like that, I'm always chucking it on my bull bar. Chances I've been out full drive and it's covered in dust or dirt and mud. All my clothes just get muddy, and I've just accepted that for the last 15 years. That's a cool idea.
It is, mate. I'm going to do that one, Robert.
How about this one here, mate? This one here is from Trent. What I like about this one so much, he's got a slide-out solar panel. Now, he's just used some basic runners that he's picked up from a hardware shop. It slides away underneath his roof rack. Now, you'll notice he's got a Suzuki as well. When you've got a small vehicle, storage is a bit of a premium. So, of course, he uses his roof rack quite regularly. You can get to camp. You can just quickly unhinge your solar, pull that out, solar, plus you can still use your roof rack. I reckon that's a cool little mod.
Hey, it's Trent from the Zook Adventures, just with a super quick rundown of my DIY solar slide setup that we did, so that we pull up to camp or whatever, and we decide we want to go do something else before setting up camp. We can just slide out a solar panel and still be charging the batteries on board. It's a super simple setup. It's literally just 2 eBay heavy duty draw slides that I picked up. And they're mounted underneath the rack, bolted to the rack, and they literally just sit straight underneath there. Maintenance wise, it's literally just give it a good wash and a lube after each trip, especially to the beach. But yeah, super happy, super simple and effective.
That's a cool little mod, mate. I'll tell you what, our camera crew would love that, because they carry all their swags, of course, on top of that GU.
On top.
But they would love to get a little bit of solar, especially when we get to camp early. That would work a treat for those guys.
Mate, that is a great idea. Now, look, talk about thinking outside the box. We've got ourselves Troy here with what looks to be a bit of a space cab. He's got a bit of space behind the front seat. Now, getting into that can be a bit tricky. He wants to put his fridge in there. And he's just put his fridge on a little tiny slide that it looks like he's definitely made it himself, and it's a cracking job too. Slides the fridge out, can get into it easily. See, it's little ideas like that, mate, that get you thinking.
Exactly right. I think some of the best ideas is just when you've been down the shed for a little while, having a few beers and just working out how to best utilise the space in your four-wheel drive.
That's right.
Typically, you get a lot of dead spaces in four-wheel drives. If you can make those work, you're right on the way to getting a really cool touring rig. I just want to go through one that I came up with recently, mate. Just a couple of really quick, easy DIY mods that, look, you might have seen these ones before, but these are ones that, you might be sitting in isolation thinking, yeah, that's all well and good if I could go and order something online or go to the shops or something, but I can't, I'm stuck at home. Here's a couple of mods that you might be able to do just from stuff you've got at home that'll cost you basically nothing. The first one, you've seen this before. I love this idea, Graham. I've even showed you this idea before, I think, a few times, mate. It's just getting things like, you use all the time in your back of your four-wheel drive, like a lighter or a bottle opener or even a stubby holder or something, making sure it's got a little bit of Velcro on the back, Graham. Actually, he's been using this one for a little while.
It's a great idea, mate.
But it's a fantastic idea, and it's one of those ones that it's so simple. I've got a lighter there. when you go camping, you can never find a lighter or your bottle opener or things like that, your stubby holder, they're ready to go. They're ready to go. And everyone who sees this mod, who's never seen it before, absolutely love it.
Nah, this is a cracking idea, mate.
It is a good little one. I want to go to another one. Now, this is when you get a 12-volt appliance for the back of your four-wheel drive, like a fridge, even like a travel buddy, like a little oven or something like that. One of the best things I think you can do is cut your little SIG socket off and replace it with an Anderson plug. So this will take you about 5 minutes to do and probably cost you about $5 if you're lucky. And that way, that'll never ever shake out when you're driving on corrugations. You never have to worry about your fridge turning off. So that's a nice little one you can go and do straight away. That'll change the way you camp. And just the last one, mate, I just want to refer to a mod I just did just before I took the Dirty 30 up to the Kimberley. I sort of had the impression we're going to be using the Max-Trax a heck of a lot, and I wanted to make sure they were easily accessible. Before I set them right up on top of the rooftop tent, bit of a pain when you get bogged, you've got to climb up and get them out. So I had a space case in the back of the tray. I just mounted some little mounting things through the space case. I could hold my Max-Trax on the back of the space case there, mate, and as soon as I was bogged, they're at, you know, a nice little working height, pull them off really easy, and you can use them very, very quickly.
I think some of these, I mean, what you've just sort of demonstrated right there is a lot of these little tips come from being out there in the bush and finding out that, hey, that doesn't work. How can I make that better? Case in example there is your Max-Trax mount. Yeah, exactly. And even better still when you're watching a show like this and you can learn from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make them. You can go just into your shed and do these ones easy. You don't need to be a qualified anything to do these sort of mods. These are really basic ones, but they work a treat. Mate, I don't know about this one here. I'm really not sure if I'd go this far, but, Ricardo has. He's decided to put his Nespresso machine on a slide. Yep. Mate, you know you love your coffee. Yeah, do you? Well, you would come from the Gold Coast, mate. You would. I just like things on slides. I like that. You know, more things need to be on slides, in my opinion. I might put myself on a slide, mate. I might put a slide on my front seat so I can just slide out the side of the car. That'd be good. He can put you away again at the end of the day. This one here is from Troy. Now, he's got some really cool little DIY mods. Look at the drawers he's done. Drop-down little table. And check this out. A slide-out pantry, mate. Check this video. It's really cool.
G'day, guys. Heard you were looking for DIY projects. Here we go. Let's get started. Drawer system. So everything on there, built myself. Pull-out pantry. Push in the pull-out. Got oils and stuff in there. And you get this. This is my favourite thing ever. That it can come out as well. And I've also been working on my current project. It's a false floor. So the compressor, another fire extinguisher there, water pump there, Jerry. It's going to have a floor on it. Pull that stuff so I can get all of this stuff in there. So it's easy to reach. Hope it gives people ideas. Cheers.
Mate, cracking idea. Speaking of which, have a look what Glyn has done here with the back door. You know, back doors are one of those things, there's all sorts of room in behind there. And look what he's done. He's got herbs and spices down here. He's got his cutlery in there.
Okay, this will be my favourite mods on the car. G Patrol, the obligatory drop-down table. But then I modified the doors to accept these pockets so I could stick things in there. Knives and forks, spoons, condiments, that sort of thing. My drawer system and the other door. That is my favourite mod that I have built for this car.
Yeah, look at that. What a cracking idea. That's the thing. I'm going to have a look at Shorty's back door because there is a bit of space behind there. However, there's also about 40 years worth of accumulated crud, so I'm not too sure if I'm going to put my cooking utensils down there, but we'll have a look, mate.
Well, mate, speaking of back doors, we should check Dax out because I'll tell you what, for a drop-down slide, look what he's done here. This is another clever idea, mate, and what he's done is basically got one of those, collapsible buckets, and I reckon they're a top camping mod to take with you anywhere. But the way he's actually fitted that inside his little drop-down table, and also, check out the water, mate. That's really clever, if you ask me.
That's a big trick, that is.
That is super cool.
Now, if you think one foldable bucket is good, John has got the Ultimate Hardware Shop rear fit out. He's got a washing bucket and a rinsing bucket, mate. Have a look at that.
I know, he's gone full commercial chef outfit here.
He really has.
I'm used to working in kitchens like this all the time, where you've got all the stuff to utilise, including a pull-out cooker, mate. That's pretty cool. Mate,
what I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind just taking a second, just lean really close to your laptop and have a close look at his cooker. See how clean it is, mate?
Oh, far out.
Yeah.
He has not done many curry sausages on that outfit, I can tell you right now.
Or he washes it. One of the two, mate. One of the two. I'm going to go with. Probably hasn't done many curry sausages. It's not everyone's meal of choice. Speaking of sort of cheap setups in the back of your four-wheel drive, I'll have a bit of a look at one of mine here. When I got the GU way back in the day, I wanted to deck it out with all the latest and greatest drawer systems in the back. I wanted things that folded out, folded down. Yep. Couldn't afford it, mate. Couldn't afford it. And it might surprise you to hear this. I'm not much of a chippy. No, I can do a few things, but I'm not the world's best chippy. So I put a bit of a thinking cap on. I went into Bunnings and I got myself some storage boxes, mate. A little bit of matting underneath, stop them slipping around. Tied them all together with a couple of ratchet straps. And mate, those bad boys have been in there for about 10 years, have never moved, have never broken.
So good.
And it just works, bro. And the amount of people I get asking me where did I get those drawers because they want to do the same, ridiculous.
Yeah.
One other little cheap one, mate. I just put all my matches in a waterproof container on the back of the truck there. It's got a lighter in there for your matches. And it's just on a zip. You just zip it open. You can light your jet boil or your camp stove, and away you go. And they never get wet. Doesn't matter how much moisture gets, it never gets wet. So just a real quick little DIY hack, mate, just to keep things nice and easy.
That's really cool, mate. It just works. That's what's so cool about it. It's not
that's it.
super expensive. You don't have to be skilled to do it, and it just works an absolute treat. It makes your whole touring experience so much better, mate. That's a really cool, cool mod, mate. This one here is another home-built one, mate, and it's just... it's really clever because it serves a lot of different purposes. This one's from Alan.
Yeah, guys, this is the other side of my kitchen. So this here is some plywood again. It's all made out of ply. It is removable. Clip here, 2 screws over there, which screw into there, and the same at the front. And I have an open bed, open tray, but I sleep in here. My young fella sleeps up here. We've got power for our electric blankets when the weather gets really bad. I reckon that's one of my favourites.
It's a very good idea, isn't it? It's a very good idea. Now, look, there's one here from Brad. I just want to do a little WA shout out if I can. To anyone who was Brad's made himself a bar from the side steps of his tray, which I think is genius. Just want to do a little shout out to anyone who's ever been to the Gas Dash up north in WA. It's a big off-road race. And if you have, I want you to get back to me in the comments down below and I want you to tell me how they rated their bars. What did their bars have to be rated at? There will be a certain number of people in WA that will know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Gas Dash.
All 3 of them, good luck. I do like that idea, and you know what? This is a mod I've actually wanted to do the Dirty 30 since we first started building it, and I haven't got around to it yet, but I want to do that same thing where the drop down sort of the side of the tray forms a table or a bar in this case. But
speaking of that, mate, do you remember when we were on, I think it was Fraser, where we met that bloke that had that old, I think it was a Toyota, and he had a drop-down table that he totally decked out to be a filleting table for when he went out beach fishing.
Yes, that's clever.
Had water, had everything. Yep.
You just know that guy has done his fair share of beach fishing when he's got a filleting drop-down table and bait station in the back of his ute. I reckon that's pretty cool. If you want to go look to the next level, check this one out. Now, Jamie, what he's done, he's got a really cool trick little setup, quite similar to how I sort of run the Dirty 30 actually, with like a little small dog box. He's kitted this one out really cool with a drawer, but look what he's done here. He's used those tactic boxes he's just bought at the hardware store and made a full set of drawers inside just using that. That's thinking clever, I reckon, because it's quite affordable and looks like it's very practical too.
Mate, this next video here, speaking of insider jokes in West Australia, and I'm not going to call Matt an insider joke, he's a mate of mine. His GU is literally the epitome of DIY. I'm not going to say any more. Just watch this video.
Hey crew, my name's Matt. I am putting myself in as a serious contender for the DIY quirky setups. I like to think this is the epitome of DIY setups, so to speak. You can see there I've got a little plastic drawer system, similar to how Graham has a plastic setup in his GU. Another little mod I've got here as well is I've got this bungee cord on some carabiners, and I've just got these, I'll zoom in there, I've just got these hoops on each side. A bit of bungee cord, and that's where I put my paper towel. And probably the other biggest mod I've got is just some gravity fed water like that, coming straight out from a 30-litre tub in the back. This is something I did as well, DIY. Just made some space because these wagons can be pretty small. So you can see in there it's a bit dark, but I've got my pillows up here. Under here I've got some random things, and this is all space for firewood. Taking that beautiful Southwest Jar out with me. Got my compressor hardwired in over there. 100% DIY. What do you reckon? Let me know. Appreciate it.
Matt, she's an absolute cracker, mate. I'll see you for the next Downhill Championships, boy.
This one is, I reckon, one of the best homemade draw systems I have ever seen. This is Kane's
Look at it.
wooden drawers. Now, the way he's done this, mate, he's obviously very skilled when it comes to working with timber. He has made what I reckon is just a really cool setup. It looks cool. He's kept the timber look. He hasn't bothered with the marine carpet and stuff like that, except for the bits where he needs it. And it works for his use. Very practical. He's really thought about this setup, mate.
He has. You know, when I said I was thinking of doing something myself in the back of the GU, that's what I had in mind. But that wouldn't have looked like that.
Yeah, wouldn't it? You would have been using old form ply and little bits you found around the house, mate. Would have been on a super angle. You could have even rested a can up the top. It would have rolled straight down, mate.
We were looking at this one before, mate, and we both frothed on it. We thought it was a fantastic idea.
That's cool.
Jared with his Mix Canopy.
Yep.
And he's got a built-in induction system. It just... How tricky is that?
That is so cool. I've always wanted that out of a touring setup of mine, mate, to be able to have, doesn't matter if you use an induction or an old gas cooker, but be able to have your cooker come out just on a slide. So you want to cook something? Yeah, give me 2 seconds and we're on. We're cooking with gas. And talking about clever ideas, mate, this one here from Aiden is a really cool way, in my opinion, to set the back of your canopy out, especially if you're on a budget. Check this one out.
Hey guys, I thought I'd just give you a quick rundown of my DIY touring setup. First of all, piece of ply, replacing the rear seats, plenty of room now. Moving on to the canopy, we've got a custom DIY air vent that's made out of a lunchbox. That links nicely to my fan, which keeps the internal temperatures of the canopy down. Now that's linked over here, can be turned on manually or through a thermo switch for those hot days. I've also got a second-hand fridge slide that I've made into a tilt slide. Trusty travel buddy here. Made my own custom pantry for it to sit on. Everything I've got here, including the canopy, is either made by myself or purchased second-hand for cheap on Gumtree.
Well, that's a cool mod, and I don't reckon he would have had to break the bank on those ones as well. And that's some of the best mods, in my opinion. Ones that you don't
100%.
need to go and spend a lot on. You don't need a lot of skilled labour and put the car in the mechanics for 3 weeks to get it all kitted out. You can do it yourself pretty easy. Just wanted to run through a couple of really cool mods I've got on the Dirty 30 that I reckon you guys at home can use as well. They're nice and easy to do yourself. The first one is just having in-cab switches for your winch. So I reckon that's a real cracker as well. I've got the isolator on a switch right beside an in and out button that's a 3-way switch, whereby I can basically, from inside the cab, turn my winch on, the isolator on, and then I can also winch in and out. So if I'm in a bit of a pickle off-road, stuck up to my axle or something like that, I can winch out straight away and then straight away winch in. I don't have to try and find the controller, get the boys to plug it in when it's half underneath the mud and all that sort of stuff. It just makes winching so much faster off-road. And another one, which we've just done recently to the Dirty 30, is hooking up an air clutch to the run for winch. So now, everyone will know that the free spool handle on a winch can sometimes be a little bit hard to get to, depending on what bull bar you got. Again, when you're in a bit of a pickle, how nice would it be to be inside the cab, be able to hit a switch, and your winch goes straight into free spool. So the boys can actually just grab the winch rope, hook me up, I can turn it off free spool and start winching all from inside the cab. I reckon that's a pretty cool mod. That shouldn't take you that long to do as well if you're a little bit handy. It's a little bit more tricky than the other mods I was giving away before, but once you get that one right, your 4B is going to be out of the bog hole before you know it.
Speaking of cool, mate, have a look at this neat little trick that I think his name's Claudie. I'm going to go with Claudie, has done with his air compressor. He's put a little pressure release on the air compressor, so as he's pumping up his tyres, when they get to the desired pressure, cuts out, he just knows to move it across the next tyre, and you're done lickety splits. One of my pet hates is pumping up the tyres. It's just a pain in the bum.
Mate, that is super clever. That is super clever. Just to be able to do it, hook it up to your tyre, walk away, have a chat with your mate, come back and swap the tyres around.
And swap it over,
I'm going to do that one. I definitely will do that one. That's a really cool one.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Check this one out from Marty. I reckon this is an absolute cracker too, mate.
Quick little video on my onboard air system that I've made up. Made some fittings, tapped them into it. Air tank under the tray, made the brackets, mounted it up. Plug your air hose in there, 150 psi, comes straight out of it. Got some cheeky air horns back there, because why not?
Good on you, Marty. That is a cracking idea, mate. Now, Shauna, we're starting to get into some, well, let's just say it's starting to get a little bit more advanced. And a couple of ideas I came up with, mate, this was quite some time ago, but in the old TD that I've got behind me here, It doesn't have a passenger airbag, but it does have the space for the passenger airbag. And behind that space is kind of a fake glove box, if you will. Now, what I did was I undid all that, ran some wiring from the auxiliary battery up to there, and then just put in one of these distribution boards here that's given me, it's got a clock on there, it's got a few bits and pieces, some SIG sockets, you know, some USB sockets, and I've now got a little power box, if you will, in the front of the cab so that I can power my mobile phone, my GPS units, all that sort of stuff. So that's a really neat use of that space there. Now, folks, one thing I do have to preface, make sure if you do have a TD like mine that you do not have a passenger side airbag before you start unbolting things, because it could go horribly pear-shaped on you. You want to make sure you don't have a passenger side airbag. Now, mate, every now and again, you do need to get a bit more complex and break out the welder. The problem I used to have in Shorty was that when I would pull my fridge out on the fridge slide, everything that I had down the side or packed up next to it for a weekend away would fall behind the fridge. Absolute pain in the bum. So, mate of mine, Lee and I, we made a bit of a fridge cage for my fridge, put the fridge inside there. It does two things. Firstly, stops everything falling behind the fridge, so it's done its job. But secondly, I can put things up on top of that fridge cage. I mount things to the side of it. It's just become one of the best mods I've ever done. I still rate that as my favourite mod I've ever done in either of my two four-wheel drives.
Wow. Yeah, it is cool. Some of the most simple ones that are very practical are often the best, mate, and that's certainly shows.
Speaking of practical and done DIY, Bronson here has made his own tray storage. He's actually done a pretty darn good job of it. That's the sort of thing, what I'm getting at here is, you're not going to buy that off the shelf, mate. He has made that to fit exactly what he needs on his four-wheel drive.
That's cool, mate. And that's the thing, I mean, when you're thinking about, you know, upping your DIY skill set to the next level and maybe bringing the welder out, I think it's a lot easier than you might think. Just welding in general. I mean, if you just want to do basic stuff using, you know, box section and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to get away with that at home. And even if you're not a welder or a fabricator or don't really think you got the skills, welders these days, mate, they make the job so much easier. I mean, have a go at this one here. Aaron's made his homemade roof rack again. Probably couldn't just buy one off the shelf or wanted to make it basically suit his four-wheel drive. So he's just gone, you know what, I'll just make it. And it's simple, but it's no doubt very strong. It's going to work.
Mate, that looks like it would survive a bomb blast. It really does. Yeah. If a bomb blast happened to go off on the roof, he will be protected. Now, have a look at Hugh. He's made a rear bar for his pad. And look at it. It is exceptionally neat. I'll just show you this video here, mate.
So this is my DIY custom home mod. It's a redesigned rear bar for the Mitsubishi Pajero, the Mighty Page. So the old bar was plastic, had a big scoop underneath, so when you got bogged in the sand, it would just tear itself off the car. So now it comes down as little as possible. It's got no scoop underneath, and bloody strong. Made it out of some box section, the other end of which is up the garage. Still a little bit to go. Get the plate out here, but it's good.
Mate, I reckon Hugh has done a great little rear bar for his page there. I might actually ring him up and see if he can make one for old Sooty here. This one's starting to get a bit old, mate, and I need to start thinking about a new rear bar for this.
I don't think you can afford Hugh, mate.
I know. I might have to make it myself, mate. It might be a lot of steel and not very strong, but we'll give it a go. That's the cool thing about, you know, tackling a DIY project as well. You can just have a go, even if you don't necessarily have the right skill set. I mean, you know, look, Jocko and I remember we made a canopy for the back of the old Pony Lux, and look, to be honest with you, we literally wrote it on the back of a beer carton. We're working it out, different measurements and different angles. We just started tacking into it, quite literally, and we made ourselves a bloody good little canopy, and it worked an absolute treat. Speaking of Jocko, mate, let's cut over to Jocko now and see how he's doing down in lockdown, mate. No doubt he's got the tools out, and probably no doubt working on that Lux, mate.
Hey guys, Jocko here, and like so many of you, I've been in lockdown for the last month. But in that time, I've been trying to think of heaps of little different mods I can do to the Hilux, and one I've done recently is I installed a compressor under the passenger seat, and I wanted to mount an air-up point for it out of the way. So I eventually came up with this. I don't use this fuel filler cap anymore because my fuel tank's at the back now and the filler is on the other side. So what I've done is I just made a little bracket that mounts to the inside here, and then I've just got the air fitting here. So when I pull up, just turn the compressor on, hop out, the air hose is behind the driver's seat, and I plug it in. Keeps it out of the way and nice and neat, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing I've done is I've installed a water tank. The reason I went for this one I bought online, was because my tray is so high, it was really hard to find one that would actually fit. Managed to find this one. It's a 40-litre tank, and I've managed to mount it a fair way forward so I can still clear my 4-link tower. To do it, I just had to move the tray floor support in the middle forward a bit, and then I just made up some straps for the tank to sit in. The last thing I got to do though is my exhaust was hitting it, so I've got to just remake this tail section of the exhaust. I ordered some exhaust parts online, so once that arrives I can finish the exhaust, then I've got to plumb it up and I'll have onboard water. So I'm looking forward to getting back out in the bush again with it and giving it a test run. Well, there's a couple of mods I've done to the Luxie while I've been in lockdown. Tell you what though, it's been pretty awesome to see some of the DIY mods that you guys have come up with. Some of those are pretty awesome and giving me a couple of ideas for what I've got to do next to the Luxie. Anyway, if you are in lockdown, hope you're staying safe and keeping well, and hopefully we'll be back out on the tracks in no time.
As always, mate, Jocko loving his time in the shed. I think if Jocko could live in the shed, he probably would. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even bother buying a house moving forward. He'll just buy himself a great big sea container and move on in, mate. Now, we were just looking at one of the mods I did. I was mentioning that space behind where there would be a secondary airbag. Aaron has done exactly what I was talking about. He's made himself a secondary glove compartment, and it's a lot neater than I ever would have done. Look at that. Absolutely sensational.
Cool.
That's what I'm talking about. Look at the extra storage he's got there that would otherwise have just gone to waste, mate.
I've got to say, it's a very neat job as well, mate. He's done very well with that one.
It is, yeah.
Mate, have a go at this. This is thinking outside the box, if you ask me. This is Jacob and his little Suzuki. Now, obviously, he must spin a few spanners on that rig, or his mates do. Because he's put vinyl on his bonnet here, so he can basically put tools straight down on his bonnet, spare parts, all that sort of stuff, when he's working on cars out in the bush. I reckon we could take a leaf out of Jacob's book, mate, because that's a cool little motto, if you ask me. It protects his bonnet from the scratches as well, so it's another cool little way. He's just basically put some vinyl on there. Simple.
I reckon it looks all right too. I quite like the look of it.
It's not bad at all. He's done. He was obviously pretty competent contacting his books when he was back in school, and it shows now, mate, because he's done a ripper of a job on his bonnet.
He's got those little folds that you did on the corners to make sure everything looked neat.
Exactly right. I'd probably go for the holographic one myself with dinosaurs or something, but anyway, up to you.
Now, look, Nathan's having a bit of a look at what he's got in his vehicle, and he's found some spare space behind the seats. And talking of neat, speaking of neat, have a look what he's done with his storage at the back there. There's a space for everything back there, and that is what we're sort of talking about when it comes to making the most of every little space you've got. He's nailed it. The only thing I would suggest there, Nathan, and this is, I'm putting my safety Sam hat on, if you were stuck in your vehicle, can you reach that fire extinguisher from the front seat? Just going to put that out there, that safety Sam. Safety doesn't take a holiday. I reckon you should be able to reach your fire extinguisher from your front seat. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that one.
That's true. The only thing I would say about that is it's so neat that if I went camping for one weekend, nothing would go back in the same spot the second time round, and I'd just chuck it all in the passenger seat, really.
Exactly right. Worry about it later. Exactly.
No, it's a good one, Nathan. That's a nice one here. Check out this one from Chris, mate. You know, Graham, you got a dog, mate. So do I. Yep. They love coming to Forby Adventures. If your dog is anything like mine, it likes to be as close to you as possible. Check out this little dog seat that Chris made. So the dog could basically stretch out on those long camping trips. Obviously loves to sit in the middle there so it can keep its head up on the centre console. I reckon that's a cool little mod. Just sitting there with his head there, just loving life, knowing he's going to a cool little campsite or a beach or something cool.
You know what else you could do with that, mate? If you were the designated driver for the Friday night down the pub and you had 5 mates coming with you, you could put 3 across the back, 1 in the front and 1 on that middle seat, and I reckon you'd still be legal. Don't go with it. Don't. Sure. Stick me in there, I'll be good to go. Now, look, we've got the 60 bus. He's done himself a DIY centre console fridge. Now, mate, you would be frothing over this because you live and breathe by your centre console fridge. I do.
I still think that is one of the coolest mods ever. There's nothing like it. Old Sooty, he's got one, of course. But see how he's used the original mounts. That's exactly what I did on Sooty when I built this one here. I used the mounts off the original centre console to build a platform to put your fridge on. But obviously, he's got on just one better, mate, and made it so much neater. He's got switches, he's got cup holders. Yeah, that's a way better version than the one I've got, to be honest with you.
And he's still got an armrest there, so you can still be nice and comfy as you're driving. So no, that's a winner in my book. Yeah, very, very well done. How about this one from Kieran, mate? When one GQ isn't enough, you get yourself 1.5. Have a look what I mean by this. He's cut one into, he's just used the rear, probably the best bit of a GQ if you ask me. Settle down. Made it into a trailer. So he's got himself a little GQ trailer. Now, I reckon that actually looks really cool. He's obviously quite handy on the tools to come up with that. Yep. That's a work of art. It's all colour-coded. I love that he's colour-coded. I was going to say, yeah. That's very cool. It definitely matches. Now, mate, here's speaking of something a bit different, GQ and a half. Have a look at Justin's Ford E150 off-road van. Now, Justin has basically made the most of every single space here. There's things that pull out, fold down, drop out, roll out. He's got a bed in the back, fridge that comes down, more storage compartments than you could ever throw a stick at. The bloke obviously uses this. You can see that. It wouldn't surprise me if he's one of those blokes that spends a lot of time off-grid, as they say, camping out of that bad boy. It's a testament to him. He's done well.
Mate, another thing I like what he's done here is he's used basically all the panels that have voids behind them. He's cut into them to actually maximise the space. I reckon it's pretty clever if you ask me.
Very clever, mate, very clever.
And if you want to see one of the best camp kitchens going around the back of a four-wheel drive, look no further than this one from Camo. He's done a full kitchen setup in the back of his Disco. Now look how slick that thing looks, mate. He's got the drawer fridges, but look, he's got a cooker that comes out of a drawer. It's all, he's custom made that as well. Used aluminium, made it really lightweight. He's even got a cutting board mounted there. I reckon that's a slick little setup, mate. He obviously does a bit of gourmet bush cooking. If you've got a setup like that, mate, you couldn't go wrong.
And I love that he's got his fire extinguisher, speaking of safety, Sam, directly above the cooker. I reckon he's had the odd flare up and gone, oh, yeah.
I need one of those, mate. I need a couple of those in the back of Sooty here, to be honest with you.
Exactly. The only thing that would complement that there, Camo, I reckon if you were to get yourself a 270-degree awning that wrapped around the back of that, so that you could cook under there in any weather, mate, loving life.
Yeah, big time.
Now, mate, lastly, we've got one of the sickest 40s getting around. This is Donovan's rig, mate. He's obviously put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this bad boy right here. And he's basically done every mod we've talked about in the last half an hour or so, DIY-wise, he's done on this bad boy. Just have a look at this video, will you?
Hey guys, just a quick little walk around video of my canopy setup here on my HJ47. It's got the Bunnings storage boxes, the plastic ones, nice and cheap. More storage there. Little solar setup here. Fire extinguisher. Jerry can on the back. This side has got a little air thing here. Homemade 12-volt setup. Twin compressor. Milwaukee charger. Travel buddy mounted on the roof there. Fridge and fridge slide. Little camping table hidden behind there. Max Track's mounted on the back, so solar panel hidden in between the cab. Jerry can on this side as well. So yeah, cheap little canopy setup.
Mate, I think you'll have to agree, that is a cracking example of exactly what we're talking about. DIY mods. Donovan, big thumbs up from me, mate.
It's absolutely cracking, mate. That's one of the cleanest 40s I've ever seen. And the fact that he's done most of that work himself, mate, it just ticks all my boxes. It's given me a couple of ideas for my old girl, actually. That would have been really handy up in Cape York.
We could have done with a few mods up in Cape York, mate. Now, listen,
That's right.
folks, I want to know, what did you think of this episode and what was your favourite DIY mods? Or maybe you didn't get your video in time to us and you've got something better. Still love to see it. Chuck it in the comments down below. Let us know. We might chuck it in another episode of maybe Beers in the Shed or something down the line, mate.
Exactly right, mate. If not, I'll go through it and get a bit of inspiration for myself because I'm going to spend the rest of the day down the shed today, do a bit of tinkering on the old Sooty mobile here, mate. And I hope you guys are keeping busy and safe as well with so much lockdown happening around the country. Stay positive, guys, and if you do get a chance, spin a couple of spanners on your rig so when those lockdowns do finish, which hopefully are very soon, you can get out and explore the best country in the world, mate.
Absolutely, mate. For me now, I'm about to put a new starter battery in the front of the GU. Not exactly a DIY mod, but something that's got to be done, mate. I hope you're having a good time over on the East Coast. Yep. And let's just hope these borders open up soon, mate, so I can come across and we can have one or two beers. Again.
Sounds like an absolute plan, mate. Well, good luck, mate, and make sure, Graham, just a word of advice before I let you go, mate. Just get the fire extinguisher. Maybe get a couple, just hit them really close. And good luck, champion.
The red goes on the black, doesn't it? That's right, yeah. Red on black, black on red.
Something like that.
Done.
You'll be right.
Cheers, mate. We'll catch you later.
See ya, mate.